Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon. No,
evening,
start again. That's horrible. Start again. It's evening.
Start. Okay. Good evening. Ready?
I'm just kidding. Keep going.
Wow. Good evening. Keith, you start the show. Okay. Good evening, everybody. Oh, stop. That sucks. Oh, it's going to be that kind of show.
Yeah,
huh?
it is.
And I don't even have a beer. I'm drinking Diet Pepsi.
I just
tonight,
spilled a bunch of beer on my thigh. That sucks.
Well, I had something, but not appropriate. Okay.
That was pretty funny. I asked you to open the show, and then I guess like afternoon. What's that about?
Because most people listening will be in the afternoon.
Right.
Anyway,
That's a good point, I
hi,
guess.
everybody.
What do you
Hi,
mean? Well,
how are you?
I debate that point because we had a lot of fans here in the old Europa.
We
Oh,
do,
my country.
and every time I check the stats,
Yeah.
I'm very, very surprised.
Yeah. All right.
We have people that actually like to listen to us,
All right.
and I'm very happy for that.
All right. Go ahead and open the show. I'm sorry. I keep interrupting you. Go ahead.
Good evening, everybody,
There we go.
and welcome to the show. I'm Keith. On the other side of the screen, both literally and figuratively,
Hey, kids.
is Jason.
That's right.
We are the JK part of this show. Is a JK. Welcome to the Saturday video edition.
Whoop, whoop. A night of fun, a night of cheers. It's a you are invited, but your friends can't come night of fun. And we have a night of fun. I understand Keith has a very good bracket this week, and I think I saw the title, so I'm very excited to get to it. But there's been a lot happening, and I'll let you lead the conversation since you said you had more to talk about than I did. So go ahead. Hit me with it.
That's not what I said. I said I had a couple of things,
All
and
right.
if that's what you
Well, what was it we were talking about before we started, though, that you said, let's talk about that during the show? What was it that I said?
You have a beer. You're drinking beer tonight.
I am, yeah.
And I said, I am not drinking beer tonight, although I have one ready in the fridge.
Yeah.
However, after our last show,
Yeah.
Which was last Saturday,
Yeah.
or our last video show, because I don't drink during the week because that's just bad
bad.
for me. Anyway,
Stephen will
so
get very mad at you.
I drank about half a glass. I drank a glass, which left in the bottle about 2 glasses.
Right,
Okay?
right.
So I thought I'm going to put the cork back in. Show the bottle if you can. Do you still have the bottle next to you?
There's the bottle right here.
So they're like champagne bottle size bottles for this beer.
It's like a
And
really
they
classy 40.
Right. And it comes with a cork. Well, last Saturday, I could not get the cork back in the bottle.
That's what she said.
I know. It was too tight. And so I thought, what the hell am I don't want to drink the rest of this. I'll
Yeah.
be done the rest of the night.
Right.
And because it's 10%, the one I'm drinking.
Yeah. The blonde is 10. The one that I have is 11.
Always got to one-up me. Anyway.
I'm just saying for the fact. You don't got to be mean about it. I didn't realize it was 11 until I literally poured it in my glass. I flipped it around. I'm like, it's 11, like Pirat. Yay!
So I said, well, what the hell am I going to do? I can't get the cork back in the bottle. So I thought, okay, you're smart.
Right.
Ish, figure it out.
Ish.
And so I got a bowl that has a lid on it
Right.
because I have no extra glasses that, whatever. I didn't want it to go flat.
Right.
So I started pouring this in there. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Boom. So I was, okay. So I poured it in there in this bowl. Fine, no problem. And then
Right.
I put it back in the refrigerator. And then I decided, you know what? I do want a little bit more. Now so I tried pouring a little bit out into a mug,
A mug, like
And
a
it just
coffee
went-
mug or
it
like a
just-
beer mug?
beer mug that
All right.
I have in the freezer. I
All
like
right.
my beer cold.
All right.
And beer just started pouring from a bowl into a mug is not easy.
Not advisable.
And I was trying not to get a lot of foam.
Right.
So it just went all over the
With the
place. So I ended
blonde,
up-
there's not a lot of foam with the dark. With the blonde, there's a lot of foam. It's like, if you've never poured, by the way, welcome to the first viewer he's come and gone. Anyway, if you've never poured Diet Coke into a glass full of ice, it's foam for like 30 minutes, and then it eventually goes down and it's get like an inch of soda, so that's never any fun. So I know what you're talking about there.
So I just said, Mom and Dad, I'm sorry. I just said, fuck it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I finished off the bottle last
Are
week.
you going to say I'm sorry every time you want to say an expletive?
I said it once this show. That's it.
Mom and Dad, listen. This is from me.
We're grown
Let's just call this a blanket cover for all the expletives that Keith is going to say. And let me say, on behalf of a grateful nation, I apologize.
Yes.
All right, go ahead. Now, just go free will. Go.
Okay. All right. So I ended up finishing off. So flash forward to last night.
Right.
I opened another bottle, and the tall beer glass you've seen I've had on the show.
Right.
I drink one of those, and I thought, okay, but I was smart. Not only did I buy more than one bottle at the shopette
That is smart.
of the beer, I bought the stoppers you can use as corks.
Oh, like the little frou-frou wine stoppers, right?
Yeah. So I thought, okay, great. So I popped that in there. Didn't even worry about the cork. Pop it in there. Right. Set it in my little wine rack that's in the fridge. That's built in the fridge.
I'm listening. I'm looking for something to wipe up some beer. Keep talking.
Okay. And then, so I go to bed last night about 12:30. Like I said, feeling good. Feeling like, I'm going to be able to sleep. It's going to be a nice, healthy sleep because I'm full. I've got some alcohol in me. I'm good.
That's like the best sleep sometimes, too,
It really is.
Yeah.
And it really was.
Right.
And so I'm just in that, my eyes are shut, and I'm just drifting off, and I hear, bang. And I said, are you fucking kidding me? And I said, well, that's just, I'm not even getting out of bed. That's just going to be a cleanup in the morning.
That is outstanding.
Yes. And then I forgot about it. So when I got up this morning and went to open the fridge, I went, oh, yeah. So there was about half a bottle left. Now there's about a quarter bottle left.
I love it.
So I had to clean off the shelves and all that. So I took the shelf out so it can sit up straight now. And anyway, so that's my beer. So I don't have a beer tonight because I got off on my eating schedule.
Yep.
And so I'll have a beer after the show for sure.
I love it. That's fantastic. I got this bottle like a week ago, knowing we were going to do the podcast. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to save it for the podcast. And what I forgot, though, is it was dark beer. It's not light. And that's cool. I'm totally cool with that. But let's see here, just real quick. 1 second. I want to tease some people here, get us to come be with us. So we were going to do the podcast. Whoa. I'm like, okay, I'm going to save it for the podcast. And what I forgot, though, was stop that. I hope that doesn't repeat. It's going to repeat like a million times. Anyway, so sorry about that. Anyway, so I bought the beer because I thought, great, it's always nice to have as we're chatting and BSing and stuff on, it adds a little social grease to it. And I got it, and I thought it was the blonde, but it's the dark. So I'm like, okay, I can do the dark, golden or Guden, not even Guden. I thought it was golden. Guden Carolus, Cuivy van de Keyser, dark ale brewed, bottled in Belgium. But I think it has to go through the American because it's sold in our store. So it has to go. Yeah, government warning. According to the Surgeon General, women should not drink alcohol beverages during pregnancy because they will have too much fun during pregnancy being drunk or something like that. I don't know, but so that's what it says. It's a good beer, but. Anyway, you know what they've been running on AFN Sports are like best NFL games of last year. Have you been kind of inkling with these?
Right before you popped on, I turned off the TV so it wouldn't be on behind me.
No, so
I was watching the Saints and
Saints 49ers. Right. So I want to caveat this by saying, welcome Matt Adams to the little family of viewers that we have. We're very happy that you're here. Matt, thank you so much. He's listened to every single podcast, and he loves it. So he's a big fan of ours. He just gets a little bored during sports. So, Matt, this is going to be about 5-10 minutes of sports. If you want to go, grab something to eat or whatever, come back about 10 minutes. We'll get on with something else. But anyway, Saints 49ers, which interesting game. Now, I'm confused. Help me out, because I have not really been paying attention. Did Drew Brees retire, or did he not retire?
No. He said he's coming back for one more year and then going to see how it goes. Okay,
so he is coming back for one more. Okay, I thought they'd given the job over to, what's his name there? The guy who comes in. No,
Bridgewater? Taysom Hill?
Taysom Hill, that's it. I thought they'd given the job over to him, and that was it. I thought he was just moving on, and he was just going to go do his gig at the Today Show or whatever the hell it was he was going to do.
No, but they did bring in a quarterback, and I can't think of who it is.
Teddy Bridgewater.
No, Bridgewater went to Carolina.
No, he didn't.
Yeah, he did.
Hang on, I am
he went
Googling,
somewhere.
sir. You're probably right, but
Bears, maybe. I'm sure John Benuszewicz could tell us.
current team, Carolina Panthers. Yep, you're right.
Okay.
Sorry about that. I thought I could have swore it was the Saints, but well, yeah, because they got rid of. Didn't they drop Cam Newton?
Well, Bridgewater played last year when at the Saints.
Yeah.
When Breeze got hurt his
retired.
thumb.
Okay.
He said he's coming back thinking
for
that he was the
one
backup.
more
They
year, and
traded
then
him during the offseason.
Okay.
Or late last year.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, so I thought he went to the Saints, and that's who I thought they had picked up in place of Drew Brees. I was a little confused. I'm starting to get my vector back with football at least, and sort of starting to hone in on the season because fantasy season's coming up, and football and baseball are the two seasons I really pay close attention to. So now I'm looking at the chat. There's nothing in the chat. Let me see here. Let me just type this in. Chat away, folks. Okay. I keep having the caps lock on. I don't know what that's about. Anyway, I'm just getting my vectors, and I'm thinking, okay, and this game was pretty good. I didn't think San Francisco was going to win. I really thought the Saints were going to pull it out. So, and I'm not a big fan of old football games because I already know what's going to happen. I don't need to watch it again, right? So, but it's what's on, and they've also been running, I think, Cleveland Golden State, right? So that's another big thing. I hope my dad's here. Hopefully he's made it.
Well, they're swapping back and forth between NFL, baseball. In fact, twice in the last 2 weeks, I've seen Kirk Gibson hit that home run.
Have they run that again?
At the A's. Yeah, they just ran it earlier today.
Oddly enough, you say that. Matt and I were just talking about that down in the basement when I had to go down and almost film our boss for a segment, and he came down and visited with me for 15 minutes, and we discovered we were both Dodger fans. We already knew we were both Californians and this whole thing, but it was great to talk to him about the Dodgers, and we talked about the Kirk Gibson home run. It was a big deal.
It was.
Such a big deal.
And I remember watching it. I also remember, going off on a tangent here, the earthquake game. The earthquake game, the World Series game.
Yeah, that was a big deal.
San Diego.
89, I think?
Yeah, it would have. Yeah, 89 because I was in college. Yeah.
Oakland was it? No, it was San Francisco.
San Francisco and
it was
I can't remember
because it was they were in San Francisco. The Bay Bridge. I mean, it was a big Bay Bridge collapsed. It was Al Michaels. He was calling the game.
Right.
Totally zoning on this. Maybe somebody will correct us. But yeah, that was such a big deal. That was right after I joined the Air Force too. That was crazy.
Yeah, it was my first year in college, I believe. Let me see here. Earthquake baseball.
You checking it? All right. Anyway, so the Golden State games have always been fun to watch because you could see the Warriors were just at the pinnacle of their talent. They were just great, and then they just broke down. I think Klay Thompson got hurt. What's his name got hurt? Steph Curry got hurt. Someone else got hurt. They traded a couple of guys, and boom, that was it. They were done. And by the way, if you're just joining us, this is not a sports podcast. This just happens to be the 10 minutes we're talking about sports. We've got a good bracket coming up on what is it again? It's movies where airplanes are the star, and I'm really digging this bracket. So I know Firefox is going to be in it, so that should be fun. If it's not, doom on you. But yeah, so the AFN sports thing has been interesting because initially, 3 weeks ago, it was like motocross. And I'm like, motocross was always the thing that came to town. And, if you had nothing better to do, and I never did it. The only time I think we went was for monster trucks. That's right. We went for monster trucks because I wanted to see the spectacle of these giant freaking trucks driving around, right? And but never Supercross has never interested me. I had a couple of friends I grew up with who did it very well, but I never. That was never my bag. I never got it.
I've always been interested in riding motorcycles. I love that. I love the thought of it. But my mom was
She's not going to let you ride it, would she? Your mom told you couldn't ride a motorcycle.
Well, that's
didn't
exactly
she?
Because she used to be a nurse in a hospital,
right?
Before she was, way back when,
right?
And my dad rode one for a little while,
right?
But no, it's not.
So my thing is, I just always knew if I got a motorcycle. Now, so let me give you a little backstory. So my friend Dan Rains and I, back in 1999, 2000, we formed a small company and we created this board game. It was called Counter Terrorists. Now, if any of you have ever played Warhammer or Warhammer 40K or any sort of tabletop army game, it was a lot like that, except one side was special forces units and one side was terrorist groups, right? And so we had this whole thing thought out. We had this like a 6 months long of gameplay to try to perfect the rules. I did all the writing and the stories for the book. I had some help from my friend Mark Kincaid a little bit. Illustrations, the whole thing. We had a book, we had a box, we had miniatures, little pewter miniatures about 20 millimeters tall. We had dice, we had a little tape measure, we had the whole thing. We were ready to go. Guess what happened when we were ready to release a game about special forces and terrorists? Take a shot in the year 2001.
Tom Clancy's
9/11. 9/11 is the word. Is
2001. Okay,
right.
yeah.
So 9/11 happened. It was not a great idea to market a game that was dealing with killing terrorists or anything with terrorists at the time, just because that was the thing. Because we felt like we were capitalizing on it and so on and so forth. So we had 1,000 of these games. We were supposed to produce them. And if we had sold 247 or 248 of them, we would have made our profit back. Or we would have made the money we got invested from people, because we sought investments on our game, we collected a lot of money to do it, and we would have paid them all back, and we would have sold a bunch of games. But if we had sold 500 of those, I mean, we would have been able to buy. Dan and I would have each been able to buy these motorcycles that we had picked out, right? And so a lot of things happened. The 2011 happened, or 9/11 happened rather. Dan unfortunately got a divorce from his wife at the time, and he got out of the Air Force.
His money.
And I got an assignment overseas. So everything sort of happened at once. It all got fucked up, and the games didn't sell anywhere. I have a box around here somewhere. I don't know where the hell I put it. I kept 2 boxes forever, but at some point, we essentially had to burn the boxes of games for tax purposes. That was the only way you can basically get a portion of the money back. So this is the long way around saying that I forgot what we were talking about.
Motorcycles.
So we were going to buy a couple motorcycles, and that was going to be it. But I'm the guy, and my dad is a motorcycle rider. He's done it his whole life. He had choppers, and I praise him immensely for that. But I'm the guy you would read about who got into the motorcycle accident where like my head flew off, my arm was found in another state, parts of my intestines were being served at Waffle House. It was dissected. I was that guy. I would be the guy who had the worst luck on a motorcycle. That would be me. There would be no question in my mind. So as much as I wanted to get a motorcycle, I couldn't do it. Now, the only time I really changed my mind was when Bombardier came out with those 3-wheel motorcycles. Do you remember those? Yeah. They're the Spiders. I wanted a Spider real bad, but basically my dad called me a woman if I had bought one. And so I didn't buy one. I was very close. I really wanted one, and I thought, well, in Georgia you could have one because it's sunny, the weather's great, the whole thing. But I never could pull the trigger because my dad would feel like I'm a woman. There it is. There's that. How about that, Gil? Huh?
Yeah, you just triggered me.
Yeah.
My first foray onto a motorized bike-ish kind of thing like that.
Yeah.
And I know my parents remember this story because it scared the shit out of both of them.
Right.
We were living in small Holdenville, Oklahoma, because my dad was on a remote to Thule, Greenland.
Thule, wow. I don't even know what they do there. They say satellite operations, but I honestly don't know what they do there.
They do the BMUS thing where they have the radar that will
like
catch a launch.
Over the horizon?
Yeah, over the horizon, yeah. But my dad's an air traffic controller, was an air traffic controller.
Right, I remember that.
But anyway, so they would come home, and that's his childhood home. Him and my mom was born 6 miles away, whatever. So when he's on remote, we went to live with basically, so her mom, his mom and dad were there to help with us rowdy kids.
Right.
But part of the group he grew up with, remember I told you he was in a band and all this, that core of friends he had forever growing up are now early 30-something, late 20s, early 30-somethings. So they all bought, remember the red Honda 3-wheelers?
Yeah, ATCs. Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Okay, so these were the early...
I got stories about that too.
Yeah, these were the very first versions, right?
Right.
And so one day we went down
to the
river.
Big fat wheels like Cinnabons? Yeah.
Yeah. And so one day the families went down to the river, Cimarron River, I believe it is, and down there around Holden. I see what you got. down there around Holdenville. Mm-hmm. And on the dry riverbed, they would just rock. They would just go. And of course, there's sand dunes and
where was this again? What
shoreline.
state?
Holdenville, Oklahoma, East Central.
You said
Oklahoma.
sand dunes. I'm like, what?
Yeah, on the riverbed and all that. Okay.
Okay.
Because there really was not much water there.
Well, yeah.
So they're riding, we're riding, and Daddy, I want to ride. No, I'm not going to ride. No. And so his friends.
Welcome to all 4
Alan,
viewers, by the way. Go ahead.
Yeah, Alan and Gary said, "Go ahead, let him go.
Yeah.
Let him go. You know, we've got the guy on the motorcycle. We'll just ride beside him and go."
Right.
Well, they put me on Gary's 3-wheeler.
Yeah.
And Gary had souped his up a little bit. And this is why I know I'm not made for a motorcycle, because of what happened on the 3-wheeler. I get on there, I see this guy next to me, the motorcycle guy barely standing up straight because he's going so slow behind me. And by God, it's a race now. So I put my thumb, because that's where the gas was, excuse me.
That is where it was. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
When you pushed it forward,
gas,
right? Yep.
And oh my God, it's a one I outran everybody.
That is fantastic.
People are running after me. The motorcycle can't catch me. And finally, I can see, and I think they're cheering me on.
Right.
They're telling me to stop. They're telling me to take my hand off.
Yeah.
And finally,
yeah.
And my mom, I know my mom was scared shitless.
Yeah.
And, they're just, he's going to die.
That's
fantastic. No helmet,
yeah.
No nothing. I'm just going like a bat out of hell, probably 50 miles an hour. And the only thing that stopped me was I hit a little sand dune.
Yeah.
And my hand came off the handlebar.
That is outstanding.
And by that time, and then the motorcycle guy got me and put his hand over the gas, dropped his dirt bike,
yeah.
and put his hand over the gas flipper thingy. And so that's how I know that if I ever got on a motorcycle,
yeah.
it would be the same damn thing, and I'm almost 50 years old.
I'm telling you, if I got on a motorcycle, I would just be that guy. And since it's a video, you have to look at my face. You'd make this face when you saw me. Ooh, that's the face you would make, because fuck, that's a bad accident. You're listening to This Show is a JK with your pals, Jason and Keith. Thank you for joining us out in video land. If you're watching at home, we're trying to make it as entertaining as we always do. Just a reminder, you can subscribe to the audio version. We do 2 audio versions a week on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, NBC, CBS, ESPN, Fox. No, those last 4 probably aren't true, but iTunes, Google Play, and Spotify for sure, and then a few other smaller podcast things. Did you hear Joe Rogan, by the way, he'll go exclusively to Spotify by the January? I'm not a Joe Rogan listener, but that might be important to you. So anyway, please subscribe. That's great for us. Like our page. We would love for you to like our page and our Instagram channel. Both are easy to find. Real JK Podcast is the Instagram. This one is This Show is a JK. It's very easy to find. Again, thanks for those of you who are out there in viewer land watching us tonight. So here's my ATC story, okay? And thank you for allowing me to piggyback on what you're saying, because this is really some ingrained memory. So probably 11 or 12 years old, when you live in San Diego, if you own ATCs or other sorts of dirt bikes, you go out to El Centro or toward Yuma. There's a bunch of places out there where you can just take a motorhome out there, drink a shitload of beer, and haul ass on a gasoline-powered vehicle, right? So my mother... What could go wrong? And I'm getting to it. So my mother and father used to party with some friends named Merrill and Debbie. And Merrill used to own a huge construction company in San Diego, so he owned 37,000 ATCs, and they used to put them on the back of this trailer, drag them out to the desert, and we would roll up in our little 20-foot open-road motorhome with our something called Dune Cycle. I'll get to that in a minute. And then we would hang with them, and then my parents would drink the shit out of the wine and beer that they brought, and then I would eat Doritos until they would, bags and bags of those. And we would go out and most of the time safely ride the Dune Cycle and the ATCs, right? So one time, though, and I think this was probably the last trip, one time we were out in the desert, and I remember when you said the throttle thing, that's when this all flooded back to me. I was like, oh, yeah, the push fucking throttle, right. So we were, I was riding around with some people, boom, 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 boom. And I thought, I'm 12. I'm a man. Watch this shit. So it was exactly like that Air Force joke where the NCO gets the lieutenant and he says, watch this shit. It's basically what happened. So I see this dune and it kind of does this nice sort of, like one of those things, like if you jumped it and you were in the air, you get like 5 or 6 feet or 7 feet of good air. Hi, Dad. And you would just, that would be the picture. You would just kind of going, fucking yeah, right? Like that. So I figured that was going to happen. So I was like, woo, no, 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 woo. Okay. At this point, it's important to remember that I didn't have a lot of experience on the ATC. I knew where the throttle was. I sort of knew how to shift the gears. That was about it. Anyway. So I, at the time, am still 6 feet 3 inches tall, but I'm 143 pounds. So I'm like 71 times lighter than the cycle itself, right? So the cycle, and if you're watching, it starts out pretty normally, but then the hill probably gets into like a 67 or a 70-yard angle. And just, woo! So the ATC is going basically almost straight up, right? At that point, I depart the ATC. And I'm not sure how. I probably could have held on, but I depart, but the ATC starts flipping backward. And I went, and even in my head, I went, that's unusual. So I'm coming down, the ATC is coming down, and I'm like, oh, this isn't fucking good at all. And what happens is, I don't know if you remember, but on most ATCs, there was this sort of 6-inch chrome bar in the back. Like if you were riding with a friend, you could reach your arms around and sort of hang on as your friend did all sorts of goofy shit on the ATC, right? Hi, Donna. I love you too. And so that's what that was for. Well, that day, as the ATC came down, that bar was for attempting to sever my ankle in half because it came down, and I don't know how much an ATC weighs, probably something north of Dom DeLuise. It comes down and it just whacks my ankle, and it just was like, ah. But the good news was it hit and then it sort of bounced. So it didn't like hit and stay, like cleave my ankle, or it didn't break it either, fortunately. But it hit and it hurt like fuck. So anyway, the good news about ATCs is mostly you can just sort of pick them up, turn them over. But my ankle was hurt. So the people who were riding with me, somebody rode that one back. I rode on the back with somebody. I came back. I'm trying to find a dramatic example. My ankle was about this fat. It was seriously had swollen up to like the size of like double a softball. It had just risen up like woo. It was crazy, right? So I was in a lot of pain. And so the trip back from what is it, Nogales? Something like Nogales or something like that, or El Centro. And there was always a little Mexican restaurant my parents stopped in, but that's not the point. The point is, when you come back from there and go back to San Diego, there's a mountain pass you have to go to. So this is the best part. You ready? So we're going home. My ankle is the size of Hervé Villachez. We're going over the mountains, and then my eardrum bursts. And my mother doesn't know it. But I'm sitting there bitching about my leg that hurts, and all of a sudden my eardrum bursts, so I'm like, oh, fuck, this hurts a lot. My mother is fucking gone. I mean, just drunk. God rest her soul. She is just shit-faced out of her mind, having a great time listening. I think the 8-track on that at the time was either Donna Summer or the Bee Gees, right? And she is just shit-faced out of her fucking brain. And that would be great if her son wasn't like have a giant hematoma on his ankle and his ear just hadn't, gone Kobayashi Maru on his fucking head. So I'm in a lot of pain right now. I'm in a lot of pain. And she's basically saying, just get over it. You're a big boy. Come on. You're going to be all right. Just knock it off. Drinking wine, having a great time. Anyway, made it home. I was basically out for like 3 days trying to heal my ankle. My eardrum sort of healed on its own, but I've kind of had a problem with it like my whole life. And that's my ATC story. Cheers.
Ladies and gentlemen, best story ever. Not only did he tell the story, but he worked in Dom DeLuise, Hervé Villachez, and the Kobayashi Maru.
Not bad, right?
So
I'm a man. I have a wide spectrum. I have a wide spectrum of things that
challenge accepted.
ATCs were that is a big part of my life because it's a big part of me. Well, so like I lived on Midway Island for a year, And that's when I discovered my parents did not mind a glass of wine, and they did not mind a little bit of Mary Jane either. So that was sort of the prelude to going on. And when we got to El Centro and Nogales and all those other places, it was like they do not mind a glass of wine at all. And they used to drag some people with them. It's like, holy fuck, these people like to get drunk. It's like, holy shit. So anyway, I've hogged all the time. Nice. What else do you want to talk about?
No. We're playing golf tomorrow, maybe, allegedly?
Yes, we're playing golf tomorrow. That's exciting. And you became a country club member. Now, is this the first country club you've ever joined?
It is.
Wow. You're like Thurston Howell III.
Woodlawn Country Club.
I'm going to have to call you, instead of Thurston Howell III, I'm going to have to call you Keith Powell III.
Don't do that. Don't do that. Okay. No, it's. I thought, it's just if you play 3 times a month, you paid you paid for it for the month.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. And besides that, while everything is going on the way it is, and the way the hours are curved, and the way that members get tee time preference and things like that,
yeah.
You know what? It'll work.
So did you get a preference after you joined, or had you made the tee time before?
No, after.
After. All right, that's fair.
Because members can make a tee time 3 days out, as opposed to the day before.
Now, when do you get the secret handshake? When does that happen?
That happens as soon as you sign the paper and they take it out of your credit card.
Okay. I should probably join. It's probably worth it. Given all the courses that you said you can play, it sounds like it's totally worth it. Yeah. But if it's this shitty on Sunday or tomorrow, I guess it's going to be difficult. It figures.
Not supposed to rain.
It fucking figures that it's this shitty. COVID. Hey, COVID. We're easing up the restriction on COVID. Shitty weather. COVID is oppressive. Stay home. Don't do anything. Sunny and 74. Dee and I were talking about that. It's staggering how good the weather has been when we've been locked in our homes and confined to our houses. But immediately when things like, okay, it's okay to go to restaurants now. It's okay to go to stores. It's okay to go here. Blah, blah, blah. We're back to regular German weather, which is, we knew what, you didn't as much, but I knew what sort of regular German weather was like, which is sort of gray and rainy. On a consistent basis, 18, 19 days at a time. And it's about to get hot too. But hopefully it'll be all right for our golf game tomorrow.
I actually slept, and trust me, you know me, I get cold at the drop of a hat.
Yeah.
But I actually slept with the window open last night.
I need to get you like an old woman blanket for work, right? Is that what I need to do?
We need to get you shut right the hell up is what needs to happen.
You're listening to This Show is a JK with your pals Jason and Keith. We've been talking about riding ATCs in the desert, and we've also been talking about the motorcycles that we never owned because our parents made us feel guilty. Again, if you'd like to join us, we are here. Many of you are here right now. That's great. Thank you for joining us, Dad and everybody. Mark Nolde, Greg Reinhold, Dees Cassius, David Clark, and all the others who are joining us today. Thank you very much for being part of the video show, which we do Saturdays because we don't have a hell of a lot else to do on Saturdays, right?
Really.
Pretty much is what it is. If Keith has a girlfriend, it's going to fuck this whole scheme up. Anyway, if you want to listen to us on iTunes, please do that. Subscribe. We would love for you to do that. If not, John B listens to us over on Spotify. We'd love for you to do that. Whatever is good to go. Somewhere in your pocket, you have a bracket, or is there something else you want to talk about before we got to bracket?
I got nothing else.
That's it?
You want to go ahead and go to the bracket?
Let me think. Is there anything else I need to unload on before we start? Let's see. We did ATCs. Nothing really happened this week. It was pretty quiet. So let's just give you all a quick COVID update because we haven't done that. So COVID here, many of you are aware that Germany has done a pretty good job of managing COVID in terms of keeping us in our homes and wearing masks and all of that. So things have really started to ease up now. Dee and I went out to dinner at a place called Salvatore, which I recommend to you, my friend. It's a little Italian place. It's in Landstuhl. It's by the tennis club. Fantastic, authentic, brilliant Italian food.
That indoor tennis place?
No, it's outdoor.
Okay.
But it's tennis, and then like they have an Italian place. I think it's the best Italian food in the world. They fucked us up on our last 2 visits, but they made it right this time, so it's all good. Anyway, so, they space you, whatever it is, 2 or 3 meters apart in tables. You don't have to wear your mask. It's all good. Went to Globus today. Again, no waiting outside. Just a lot of go in, get your stuff done.
You went to Globus on a Saturday?
Yeah, I did. I did. It wasn't that bad. I mean, we roamed around. We got all of our cool stuff, and then the line was one deep, and we got in and out pretty quickly. It was easy. And then we went over to Noah Moose's commissary, and we were there, and there was no wait there. So it was all in all, it was a good. Once Dee Dee figured out it was going to be shitty today, she really didn't want to go up to Burgell's and do the castle thing. So we decided to just do the store runs. I don't know how many of you do this. You probably do it, but essentially, if a Saturday comes up and we don't have an activity for them, then it's pretty much basically this order. It's recycle bottles. And then we go to PX probably just to roam around and find what's on sale. Found a shirt for $2. It's pretty nice. It's baffling how much their clearances go sometimes. Then we go over to commissary and we refill the house full of food. And then sometimes we do gas on Saturdays, but in general we do gas on Sundays, or if it's long holiday, Mondays. And then we figure it out. So what we decided to do was push Burgell's to Monday, since we figured nobody's going to be there. And that'll be a lot easier to go through the castle and do all that. And Petra was nice enough to correct me, because one of the things that they said about General Order number 3, I think it's 3, or the continuance of 2, whatever it is. But what they said about General Order number 3 is that you can go anywhere in the country, but you just can't stay overnight. So I was like, well, Burgell sounds great then. That's it's about 2 hours away. I read the website. They're allowing about 120 people in it at the time, so it's all good. The only thing I thought that was different was that they were in a different state than we are. And because one of the things they said in the General Order and elsewhere is if they're in a different state, you may be subject, when you're coming back to Rhineland-Pfalz, to being put into a quarantine. And I was like, oh, fuck, I don't want that. I enjoy going to work. I mean, you do too. I mean, we love our job, and I just don't want to be taken out of the picture for doing something dumb. And then Petra was nice enough, because I was telling her, we're going to go to Burgell's right before she left on Friday. I said, we're going to go to Burgell's, blah, 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 blah. She goes, hey, dummy, that's in Rhineland-Pfalz. And I was like, oh, all right, good. So I was both happy and, proven to be a dummy as usual. So that was all good.
Good deal. You ready for this bracket?
Do it.
All right. Well, if you could bring it up so you could keep filling it out.
All right.
Because I haven't figured out the website yet.
No problem. Give me a second.
As you said, this is one I came up with off the top of my head. For those of you who are listening, have been listening since the start, you know this. For those of you who are new listeners, first of all, welcome.
Welcome.
And second
to
of all,
Fantasy Island.
If you don't know this, Jason and I are both airplane geeks.
Total geeks.
Specifically military aircraft.
I literally joined the Air Force almost because of that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we talk airplanes a lot, probably as much as we do sports.
True.
So I don't know what I was doing, but I thought, hey, you know what would make a good bracket? And I answered myself. I said, what? So I said to myself,
hey, Keith, what would make a good bracket? Well, you tell me, Keith, what would make a good bracket?
I said,
all right, Keith. I'm going to put it in the chat if people want to follow along. So let me find that chew.
Okay.
Go ahead. Keep talking.
So I said, you brought one that was the best
it's in the chat.
Aircraft.
Okay.
Which was a great bracket.
That was a great bracket, wasn't it? And it was really so. Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. I have an Instagram site dedicated to the flight sim thing, but mostly dedicated to the F-14. There's a company called Heatblur that makes a fantastic simulated F-14. Everybody agrees that it's the most realistic simulated model, and it's the most fun to fly. Well, I thought, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to start posting screenshots of some of my flights and some other cool shit on there. I've got 4,000 followers now. I'm like a little mini religion. I can't even handle that right now. So anyway, I did the first one on the on the aircraft challenge, and there was controversy. It was a big deal, and a lot of people bitched about it. But they were like, "Why didn't you put the 14 against this? It would have been a more fair fight." The 14 was going to win that whole bracket, and I think it was 32 deep. It was huge. It was going to win. I mean, there was no question. People will jack off to the F-14. It is a big deal. It has a lot to do with Top Gun. It's a great-looking aircraft, the whole thing. So that was a huge hit. So I thought these brackets are a great idea. So I'm glad we're doing these on the show.
What if I told you Top Gun was not in the bracket?
What if I told you Top Gun was not? I can buy that. Go ahead. I'm good. I'm actually more excited that Top Gun's not in the bracket. How about that shit?
No, it's in the bracket because it has to be. No. So what I came up with is the top movies.
Yeah.
Top movie.
Yeah.
Where the airplane is a star.
This is fucking fantastic. And I have not looked at the bracket, not once. I knew what the title was because you put it on Facebook, but I curbed my enthusiasm and did not look at the bracket. So this is very exciting. Go.
All right. Ready?
Yeah,
All
do
right.
it.
In bracket number 1, and I can't. There we go. I have it written
By the way,
down,
Deacon,
actually.
if you're still here, this is Belgian beer. I love you, my friend. Congrats on your job. Go ahead.
Number 8 versus number 9. Ready?
Yeah.
Con Air.
Yeah.
Memphis Belle.
So Memphis Belle is an interesting movie.
I've interviewed the pilot, Bob Morgan.
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic guy. Fantastic.
Big deal. I mean, it is a big deal. I should say. I wasn't saying that cynically at all.
Did I say big deal?
No. I didn't mean it cynically.
You're an asshole.
That is a very cool big deal. So Memphis Belle is a very cool period piece, World War II. It really personifies the whole. I mean, that's what the Air Force was about when we first started. Large air crews, camaraderie, that whole thing. And it's really just really a big deal, right? So it's rich, but it also corresponds to. Do you remember the Steven Spielberg TV show on NBC? I think it played out.
Amazing Stories.
Amazing Stories, right? And they had I think it was a Memphis Belle thing, and the whole thing at the end of the hour was the guy who was drawing pictures draw some landing gear on it, and they landed. Which I thought this is what I said. I went, oh fuck you! That's a horrible way to end that story, but whatever. I'm a little more gentle on it now. But anyway, Con Air. Con Air is a Nicolas Cage film. If you're not familiar, my dad is obviously familiar. And it's an interesting film because it's a very Jerry Bruckheimer film. It's a very sort of 800 grams of testosterone per person. Everybody's, got a dick the size of a house, and everybody's just trying to prove their machismo and do exactly what they need to do in order to, do what they need to do.
John Malkovich is in it.
Now, I got to admit, the airplane crashing into the guitar at the end and that whole thing, I need to go see my daughter, whatever he says, is fantastic. Give
me back the teddy bear.
That's it. More than anything, I'll take Memphis Belle here. Con Air is a great sort of pay set, or whatever, $13 or whatever it is for a movie now. Go in, eat some popcorn, and enjoy movie. But Memphis Belle has some residing. So as far as the aircraft being the star, it's Memphis Belle all day and twice on Sunday.
All right. Good.
Okay, hang on. Let me update that for the folks.
No, 4 to 13.
Yeah.
Number 4.
Yeah.
Firefox.
Yeah.
And number 13, Sully, The Miracle on the Hudson.
Firefox and Sully, The Miracle on the Hudson. Okay, so I want to say, just to be clear, Sully, I've never watched Sully, The Miracle on the Hudson. You're talking about the Tom Hanks film, right?
Yes.
Okay, so I've never seen it. But I know very much what that it's about. Okay, so I'll get that. Let me just score Memphis Belle real quick and get that in the get it up against Taco. I said Taco Bell. Memphis Belle. There we go. Okay, Memphis Belle's in there. All right, cool. So I think the story of Sullenberger is fantastic. I think it's one of the things that comes along once in a lifetime. I think he did the right thing. I think he saved some lives. There's a great comedian. I can't remember his name. He's from Pittsburgh. He does a great bit on Sully. He goes, "Watch me land this shit in the river." And he just, he's talking about how cool and calm he was about it. And I think he saved a lot of people's lives, and I think there are a lot of detractors who say he was just a showboat and he could have landed it somewhere else, and I call bullshit on all that. Great film, a very Tom Hanks film for sure. On the other hand, Firefox is a brilliant fucking film, and I think when you talk about films where the aircraft is the star, Clint Eastwood is also the star, but that is one of the films that definitely meets that criteria. I mean, just incredibly so.
Thought firing missiles by thought.
Right.
I mean, it was just, I've seen that so many times, but haven't seen it in a long time.
I haven't seen it in a long time either.
What was it?
And plus, what was great, it was 80s, it was around mid-80s, yeah. the thing about Firefox is Clint Eastwood also played kind of a flawed character, and I thought that was a great thing. It wasn't just super masculine, Deus Ex Machina hero goes in and rescues an airplane. It was kind of a flawed guy, and they weren't even really sure if he could do the job, and he goes in and does it. Spoiler alert. So my dad says, Firefox Fantasy, On the Hudson, true. Doesn't matter to me, Dad. Firefox is the better of those two movies. Firefox wins hands down.
Firefox. I agree. All right. Yeah, Firefox was, in the early days of HBO, like I said, 1982. Still would have been on HBO in 84, whatever.
Right.
That was a staple for me.
Yeah.
All right.
I think it was on TBS like a million times too. So that was one of those. That was one of those that was always, always on. So you always saw it.
Now, okay, we'll go just top half of the bracket here. So number 12 versus number 5.
Mm-hmm.
Number 12, Airplane.
Yeah.
Against Air Force One.
That's a great matchup, by the way. Kudos to you for putting those two against one another, because literally the movie's called Airplane, and literally the other one's called Air Force One. So I'll start with Air Force One. Great film. Harrison Ford film. Right before I think he jumped the shark as Harrison Ford. I think that was his last great Harrison Ford film. And there were so many. Raiders of the Lost Ark, Blade Runner, every Star Wars movie, Mosquito Coast, and you can go on and on and on with so many other films. So I think that is where Harrison Ford jumped the shark, it was soon after that, I should say. But that is where really I think he had hit his nadir and really had sort of, and he, at the time, he was the highest grossing box office star in the world. He had grossed, I forget, it was a Paramount or some other company. I don't remember the exact number, but it is well above what we would consider a shit ton. So he was as bankable a property as there ever was. It was a great film. Gary Oldman's in it in a very quiet performance as one of the terrorists. Get off my plane. It's got a great line. It's got the whole thing. Great film.
Everybody! I think everybody in that movie is fantastic.
That said, Airplane is one of the definitive movies of my life, because it does not stop making jokes from minute 1 to minute whatever it is, 98, 90, whatever it just ends. Robert Hayes from Mork and Mindy. When I was a kid, Mork and Mindy's there. And then you had Peter Graves from Mission Impossible. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was in there for some reason. And then on and on and on with just a fantastically funny group of people.
The joke with the co-pilot,
yeah.
the automatic pilot.
Yeah.
And even when they're showing the plane flying, it's just a cutaway shot of the plane flying in a storm.
Right.
There's a joke there because the plane is flying. It's obviously a jet.
Right.
But there's the sound of propellers.
Yeah.
So it's a fantastic movie.
Fantastic film. Yeah. And just, it's so many little subtle things. And just the jokes are, so again, this was 1970. This is late 70s, early 80s. You can look it up, whatever. But a lot of other kinds of jokes, which would not be appropriate now, except for stand-up comedians and elsewhere, that were very funny at the time. And Lloyd Bridges, as my dad said, Lloyd Bridges snorting glue. And the whole, when a guy pulls the plug on the runway and the lights go out, the whole thing. The Zuckers made a very funny film. So that's why I can't choose anything but Airplane. To me, that is the film of this matchup. I don't know if you deviate from that or not.
I don't. I can go with Airplane. Right. Just a quick aside, I have actually been on Air Force One. Very cool, from cockpit to tail. I had a friend when I was actually going to Denfos back in 2008.
Right.
I had a friend, a former neighbor when we lived at Offutt, was the crew chief for Air Force One.
Yeah.
And so he took me on the plane, and so I can say I have been on Air Force One. Very cool, very cool.
Right.
All right. So we're to the bottom half of the bracket now.
Oh, wait. So unfortunately there's two threads sort of going here. One is on our page, and one is on the thing that I shared. So let me just share some of these before we press on. So David Shire said, "Do we finish with sport yet?" Yeah, we finished that a while ago. Deese, LOL. Mark Noldy said, "Airplane, that's good." Mark Noldy said, "Howdy," of course. And then Deacon, my beautiful, great friend Deacon, said he loves Airplane. And then Daniel Nathaniel, my great friend from Hawaii, said Eastwood's Russian accent was atrocious. Yeah, it was. It was horrible. All right, so I think that catches us up on the on the comments. We'll go back to that thread in a moment. So we said Airplane. I've moved that on. Next.
Okay. So some of the movies a couple of the movies that could have made the bracket but did not.
Yeah.
I had originally, but I scratched it out and put something else. Hot Shots.
Yeah, that's a good one. Val Kilmer. Yep.
No.
It's Val Kilmer.
Sheen.
Charlie Sheen.
Charlie Sheen.
But Val Kilmer's in it too.
Kilmer?
Yeah.
I don't remember him. I remember the girl that he was.
He's like the rock and roller. He's a rock and roller or something in, or maybe I'm thinking of a different film. I'm pretty sure it's him though. Hang on. Keep talking. I'll look it up.
Air America.
Great film with Mel Gibson.
I decided the aircraft weren't so much
No.
a character in
Not
that
so much.
film. And have you ever seen a John Wayne flick called The High and the Mighty
No.
from 1953?
Heard of it, haven't seen it.
Basically, he's a drunk, washed up pilot as a passenger.
Mm-hmm.
Now, remember, they were making the trip in DC-3s.
Right.
So one propeller on each side.
Yeah.
Coming back from Hawaii, and all of a sudden, because of a mechanical problem, they weren't sure they were going to make it to San Francisco.
Right.
The pilot, the captain, freaks out and goes catatonic. So they know he's on the plane. They bring him up to the cockpit, and I won't tell you how it ends, but he kind of has an epiphany.
It's like a 30-year-old movie. You could say how it ends, but anyway, you were right on Hot Shots. Charlie Sheen, Cary Elwes from, of course, The Princess Bride. John Cryer's in it. Lloyd Bridges probably called over from Airplane, and then it was made for 26. I didn't know this. It was made for 26 million and made 180 million. That's fucking money in the bank. Okay. So any others you didn't include? So Hot Shots, Air America. What else didn't you include?
Off the top of my head, that's it. Air America,
Right.
The High and the Mighty, although I do have a John Wayne flick in here.
Right.
Okay. All right.
Hi,
here we
Jasmine.
go.
Thanks for coming, by the way. I'm sorry. I'm just catching up with the comments. Spy Hard. That's it. Thank you. Thank you. Keith, hey, our mutual friend Keith Hewen is listening. Hi, Keith. Good to hear from you again.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. Good. Thank you, Keith. We need to have him on the show sometime. Spy Hard. That's what I was thinking of. Thank you, Daniel. Okay, let's press.
Jim Elliott's watching. Need to say hi to him. His wife and I used to work together.
We are good at saying hi
And
to people.
Jim. I say this with all love. Jim's an asshole. So there you have it.
All right.
All right. So in the bottom half of the bracket. All right. Number 7, The Aviator.
Yeah.
With Leo.
Yeah.
Which surprisingly I've never seen. I tried to watch it this week.
Yeah.
But Amazon Prime wouldn't let me watch it here.
You need a better
And then
VPN.
number 10, Red Tails. So Aviator and Red Tails.
Okay, full disclosure, I have not seen Red Tails, though I should.
Oh, okay.
And The Aviator I've seen probably 3 times. That said, Red Tails, a fantastic retelling to an extent of the Tuskegee Airmen and how they flew support missions. They flew cover for bombers, and they did what the Red Tails people do. It was made by George Lucas right after he stopped being Star Wars director. That was one of his pet projects that he wanted to do. It did not fare well at the box office. It got middling reviews, good effects, but not necessarily the sorts of movie that people wanted to see. Again, I didn't see it, so my opinion of that is only prejudiced by the clips that I've seen and the reviews that I've heard about. Aviator is a pretty good film. Martin Scorsese really sort of taking a left turn on things that he normally does, which oddly enough we could say is gangsters and Al Pacino. But it is kind of although he did one of my favorite films ever, Shutter Island with Leo and Mark Ruffalo, and great, brilliant film. I really enjoyed The Aviator, and I think just based on the fact that I haven't seen Red Tails and I really couldn't give my own opinion of it, based on what I've seen, I would pick The Aviator simply because I think Martin Scorsese as a sort of whole of direction and filmmaker is better than George Lucas. And somebody's going to kill me for that. And I don't mean that in the way that I think a lot of people are thinking. I think in terms of just that kind of film, I think that's important. I think Scorsese has a leg up on the greatest science fiction filmmaker ever, George Lucas. I would pick The Aviator.
As I said, I've not seen The Aviator, so I won't counteract you here.
Yeah.
I have seen Red Tails. I thought it was a great movie.
Yeah. Hi, Davis. Go ahead.
And again, a little nostalgia for me. I've interviewed 2 members of the Tuskegee Airmen.
Yeah.
So I have that going. I won't counteract you since I haven't seen The Aviator, so we'll go with The Aviator on that. All right, number 3 against the number 14.
Mm-hmm.
The Final Countdown against.
That's my daughter laughing in the background, by the way.
Wow.
I know, she's loud. I know.
The Final Countdown.
Yep.
And Jet Pilot, starring John Wayne. Have you seen that?
I have not. But
he plays a F-86 pilot, and he is in charge of getting every bit of technical knowledge from a Russian spy who has come over to the American side, who is also a quote-unquote MiG-29 pilot, which was just an F-86 and with a red star on it in the movie.
Yeah.
But who also happens to be a pretty blonde female.
Never.
So you can see where that's
John
going.
Wayne, hello.
Yeah, and the real pilots in the aerial footage, one of them was Chuck Yeager in real life. So,
Nice.
So that's how that goes. So you know about the Final Countdown. You want to take that one?
The Final Countdown is hugely influential to me. Now, I can't, it's over on the other side of the desk, but one of the things that in the flight sim that attracted me to it is because it had the F-14. And then as soon as I bought the F-14, which was a costly addition, by the way, the first thing I did was look for a skin that was for VF-84, the Jolly Rogers, and the skull and crossbones that are on the tail. Why? Because I saw the Final Countdown, and at the time, it was the greatest fucking movie ever made. And it had these F-14s that had pirate flags on their tails, and holy shit, they have pirate flags on their tails! So how can you possibly beat anything greater than that? And they were fighting, Japanese Zeros, and you had Kirk Douglas, and all these different things, and time travel, and I mean...
Martin
Sheen, and he was, and it has this whole thing that it goes through to justify Martin Sheen's appearance, and it's not a great film. I mean, it's middling, but to folks who it was influenced by, it was the Top Gun of its, in the 70s, it was the Top Gun of its time with those F-14s doing their thing. It was a big deal. Jet Pilot actually sounds like a fairly sophisticated film, and I need to check it out. But anything going against the Final Countdown in this stage of the game is going to Big L lose. So that's my opinion there.
Gotcha. And agree. I wanted to throw, in our brackets, we tried to keep make our brackets out of usually a lot of stuff within our age range.
Right.
But I had to throw something in there. I wanted to throw that in there because I thought it's a unique movie. There's a lot of aerial footage and that kind of thing. All right.
Let's catch up. Let me catch up on comments real quick. Davis says, "Why Jason?" I'm sure he's in about my George Lucas comment. Again, I worship at the altar of George Lucas Davis, so don't take that wrong. Keith did add Keith Hewen, Flying Tigers is another John Wayne. Davis said Final Countdown, all-time favorite, and Daniel said he would have loved to have seen the ending of Final Countdown where they destroyed the Japanese fleet and what the consequence would have been. Actually, Daniel, that's exactly what I expected to happen in that movie, but it didn't happen, so it's a great call. So, okay, go ahead.
All right, last match in the first bracket.
Yeah.
8 and 11.
Yeah.
Iron Eagle. And Stealth.
The Jamie Foxx film.
Jamie Foxx, Jessica Biel, and
Judge Reinhold?
No. I forget. One of those guys that...
I haven't started making Judge Reinhold jokes on this show yet, but I will. So, Iron Eagle versus Stealth. I think they're both pretty good films. I think Stealth is interesting because it was one of the first movies made that recognized that we have these autonomous aircraft that we control from an Xbox and we go and blow things up. And this was the movie about sort of the aircraft sort of getting a mind of their own and doing their own shit.
Becoming sentient.
Right, and the argument against human fighter pilots versus robot airplanes and the whole thing. And I thought it was kind of smart. Good effects. I'm one of those people who likes Jamie Foxx in almost everything. I think he's one of the most talented musicians, actors, Texans, people who's... I think he's an incredibly talented guy. I think he commits to the form. I think he's a fantastic emissary for the craft. Iron Eagle, Lou Gossett. I don't even remember who the lead's name was. F-16, that whole thing. I think I watched it once, but it did have at the time one of the best songs from a movie, One Vision, that I really liked.
Yeah.
This is kind of a toss-up for me. I'm not really committed on either film. But if I got to pick one, I'd pick Iron Eagle simply because I think it's spawned a lot more, and I think it's great for memes. And when I'm talking to flight sim people, that seems to come up more than Stealth does. So that's why.
Well, the whole premise behind Iron Eagle.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, I can't talk.
Iron Eagle.
Anyway, yeah, it is, is the kids. They're all teenagers. The kid's father gets shot down in North Korea.
Right.
But he has a lot of simulator time.
Right.
And his dad has taken him up several times.
Carlos Diaz is here. Hi, Carlos. Sorry, go ahead.
Hi, Carlos. Which would not happen, obviously.
Right.
And Lou Gossett is a retired fighter pilot.
Right.
And so these kids, one kid's dad is in Intel, one kid's dad is in ammo, one kid, so they join together. Ammo. They're all ROTC kids, and so they are able to load up an F-16, and with Luke, and they get Lou Gossett to help him. And this kid is in one plane, Gossett's in another, and they go rescue the dad out of North Korea.
That's it.
Real F-16 pilots. I came. I spent 3 years at Cannon Air Force Base with 4 squadrons of F-16s.
Yeah.
Every pilot I talked to, every Viper pilot I talked to, hates Iron Eagle.
Hates.
Absolutely.
Like with a capital H-8s. Yeah, hates it.
Yes. But I'm going with Iron Eagle too, just because when I watched it as a teenager, it was 80. I want to say 86. Yeah, because it came out the same year as Top Gun. 86. I wanted to be that guy. Not that I wanted my dad to, get taken prisoner or anything, but I wanted to fly the F-16. It was the hot jet at the time.
It was.
So, Iron Eagle. All right. So into round 2.
Okay.
Back up at the top. Top Gun. Memphis Belle.
All right. I'm going to move Iron Eagle over first. Give me 1 second. Sorry. I'm a little slower than you are.
Go ahead. So
All
Top
right.
Gun from 1986.
Yeah.
I know it's coming. The sequel's coming out. I'm not sure how I feel about it.
Well, skipping that entirely, Top Gun is the seminal movie about aircraft and airplanes of our generation. It is a pop culture icon in a number of ways because of the music and Kenny Loggins lying in a bed and singing about Danger Zone, and the motorcycle that's riding up all parts of San Diego, and my drama teacher in the background in the part of the film, and on and on. I could go on and on with this film. I can tell you that, again, the game that I play is called DCS World. It's a pretty good flight simulator, and one of the aircraft is the F-14, one is an F-15, but the important thing is one is an F-14. There isn't a day that goes by on a forum, a Facebook page, or elsewhere that a Top Gun reference is not mentioned. And there, I can tell you there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of adults who play this game who are absolutely influenced by Top Gun, and that's what they want to be. It's Top Gun without question here, and there's no question in my mind. Memphis Belle, I get it. It's a rich, endearing, but Top Gun it's that's a huge film. Directed by Tony Scott, by the way, Ridley Scott's brother.
Yes. My issue with Top Gun, and you're right, I agree with what you said. It moves on, no problem. My issue with Top Gun is because I wanted to be a fighter pilot, because I've studied it, I've blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
All the stupid mistakes that you can point out if you know anything about flying at all. He pulls back on the throttle to go faster. He's give me 20 seconds to get a missile shot when he's right behind the guy and can use guns.
Right.
Just all the stupid shit that goes on. But
Hi, Larry. Welcome. Thank you. Sorry.
We're not talking about that. So I agree. Top Gun goes on.
Yeah, I mean, but I think again, I am on the side of the filmmaker and the artist here, and I think the people who consult for the film are also on the side. You've got to make a film that is intriguing and interesting. It's just like whenever they do NASCAR films. What's the first thing? How do I get ahead of the race? Shift gears, push the pedal all the way to the floor. That doesn't really happen, but it makes for a good movie moment because you kind of understand what they're trying to do. Same thing in Top Gun. Yank the throttles all the way forward, jerk the stick all the way back, and it causes the effect that they want to achieve. So I'm okay with that. Top Gun's still the winner there, hands down.
Yeah. All right. Next, Firefox Airplane.
See, that's an even bigger battle than. Ooh, that's tough. So we've talked the merits through on both of these. I think if in my gut, if I were picking one, I'd pick Airplane. Simply because it's such a seminal film, and it led to so many things with sitcoms and everything else. Firefox is a great film on a lot of levels. I think Clint Eastwood actually directed it too. I think it was one of his first or second directorial debuts. So I guess there would just be one debut, but it was like his second. Or I know it was. Early on, it proved he could direct a film and make an exciting film. This is kind of a coin flip for me. But given the bracket's title, I would pick Firefox.
I'm surprised, actually.
Yeah, I am too.
Okay.
I am too. But that's how much of a coin flip it is for me. Airplane, a huge part of my life. My parents loved that film. They cracked up. It came from a different era, so they liked more of the other jokes than I liked those. But Firefox, to me, again, you're talking about this human being is doing this enduring sort of mission to get this plane out of. When I saw the title of the bracket, Firefox was the first film I thought of. So
Cool. Okay. All right. And our last one that has not been mentioned yet.
yeah,
Tora.
yeah.
And Aviator.
I picked Tora. I think it encapsulates. It was made as one of the litany of films like Midway and a few others during that 6 or 7 year span that was capitalizing on World War veterans turning a certain age and hitting their high income preference and all of that. But I think it was also just a good film. I enjoyed it a lot more. The Aviator was a complicated film. Howard Hughes was one of those, to me growing up, was a very interesting character who was portrayed in films like Diamonds Are Forever, who was portrayed in, was it Harold and Maude, I think, and a couple of other films. He was always eccentric and interesting and wild to me. And I thought Leo did a good job with that. But that said, good film, interesting film, but I don't think it's the same as Tora. So I would pick Tora.
I love Tora.
Please don't make me say Tora anymore. I'm kind of buzzed. Thank you.
I'm sorry.
Please and thank you.
Inappropriate thoughts. Sorry.
Please and thank you.
I saw Tora Midway, which they've remade. I don't know why. When I was a younger kid, my dad was watching it, and airplanes, blah blah.
Yeah.
And so then, not only did I watch the show, but I learned some of the history.
Yeah.
And of course, as many air shows as I've been to, at a lot of these air shows, they have the Tora Act, where usually they're T6s, but some of them are actual Mitsubishi Zeros and Kates and Vals come in with the explosions and things like that. So no, I like Tora. All right, so for the final,
here's a funny side note, and we're getting up against it on time or whatever, but that's okay.
Yeah.
It's funny that the movies made back then are richer war movies like Tora, Midway, and a few others. But the movies made now with better CG, things you can do better, and things like that are shit. Like the Pearl Harbor film that starred Ben Affleck. The new Midway film was interesting, but it's like they said, hey, we've got all these effects, let's be bigger on effects. And what really should have been about is the drama of the World War. So anyway, go ahead.
Final Countdown, Iron Eagle.
Final Countdown. Again, for the same reasons I mentioned before, it was hugely influential for me. I think it's more interesting. I think it presents a better dichotomy. Even at the time that Iron Eagle was made and had the mission that you described, I called bullshit. It just didn't interest me enough. They had he's going to fly a jet. He's going to fly an F-16 into North Korea with Louis Gossett, who just came out of OCS with Richard Gere, and he learned to fly in 4 years. I didn't buy. But in any case, I just didn't buy that, this kid was going to. So to me, Final Countdown, with its time travel, was much more believable. Anyway, I just think the Final Countdown's a better film. So anyway, that's my choice.
I agree.
All right, good, because I moved it forward. We picked Tor. I gotta get that.
Top Gun, Firefox. We're in our final four.
Top Gun.
And Tora, and Final Countdown.
Final Countdown.
Ooh.
Yeah.
All right, so we've got 2 F-14 films for the championship.
Yep. See how that works? And what did the bracket win? Uh-huh. F-14 is like goddamn Anna Nicole Smith. I mean, it's just a sexy beast of a bird, man. It's sexy. Anyway, Top Gun Final Countdown. You go first.
Oh, I don't know. What else can we say about Top Gun? Everybody knows Top Gun
Yeah.
line for line.
Yeah.
Final Countdown, I thought had an interesting premise.
Yeah.
In case we didn't explain it, the Nimitz is on a cruise.
With Kirk Douglas. And James Ferrantino, I believe. That's who I was trying to think of earlier.
James Ferrantino.
Right.
And the guy, oh, God, you would recognize him if you saw him. The fat, roly-poly guy, the senator.
Charles Durning.
Charles Durning, yes. So they get in this weird storm, and all of a sudden they're back. They figure out they're in 1941.
Right.
Because they're way out at sea, and they see these Japanese Zeros strafe a yacht.
Yep, Charles Durning. I was
and then
right.
they figure out Charles Durning.
Yeah, Charles Durning. Yeah, you're right. Go ahead.
So they figure out that somehow we've gone back in 1941.
Right.
And now we've got the USS
Nimitz.
the A6s and F-14s
Right.
and all this, and we can stop Pearl Harbor.
Yep.
But then what are the ramifications of that? What will it do to the future?
That's right.
The butterfly effect and all that.
That's
so
right.
that's the premise. I have it on DVD, by the way. Now I'm going to watch it tonight.
Great film.
So that's Final Countdown against Top Gun.
Yeah.
And I'm going with the underdog here. I'm going with Final Countdown.
Wow.
We're going to have to flip a coin.
Because I'm picking Top Gun. That's,
Yeah.
there's no question in my mind that when you talk about a film
I don't disagree with
that
that.
not only has homosexual overtones, but has brilliant aircraft. I mean, I loved Final Countdown. I own a DVD copy of it. I have it somewhere on my media drive. I could think of a million great things to say about Final Countdown, but I can think of 1,000,001 great things to say about Top Gun and why it mattered, and You Never Close Your Eyes When You Kiss My Lips, and the O Club thing, and Iceman and Maverick in towels in the locker room, and the A4 chasing the F-14, and you got Below the Hard Deck, and I Want Some Butts, and what's the name of that truck driving school? And I mean, just give me it, all of it, and I just can't. Top Gun for me is the hands down choice.
So if we're allowed to go to theaters when it comes out, are you going to see it at the theater, the second one?
Of course, yeah. I think there's some merit to seeing it again, even though every airplane in the film is going to be an F-18. But I think there's some merit seeing it.
Yeah.
So what do we need to flip a coin?
No, I'll give you Top Gun.
All right.
I'll give you Top Gun
thought you
because
might.
more people are familiar with Top Gun, obviously,
Right.
than the Final Countdown. But no, I think we did well with that bracket. I think we did a good job.
I think it's kudos, by the way, great bracket, and I think I think Top Gun also suits the end game on what you were trying to accomplish, which was best movie where the airplane was the star. And admittedly, it was a sort of a Tom Cruise. I mean, I think it took him to the next level as a Hollywood star.
Oh yeah.
For sure, it got him,
Without
past
doubt.
the what was the just take those old records off the shelf movie. It got him past that, and got him to like icon status, right? So I think there's that, but also I think that the F-14 was the
Risky
star.
business.
Risky business. But that was a big star. It made Val Kilmer a star. It made who was in that a lot of people don't realize? Tim Robbins was in that. He was the backseater.
Tim Robbins. Yep.
Yep. So I mean, and there's a lot of great cast, great. I mean, just all around. It's not a great film. I mean, if you were to pick it apart and you were a filmmaker, you'd go, this is awful. But I mean,
Or an aviation enthusiast.
but again, it's one of those films that really capitalizes on you've got 2 hours, a bag of popcorn, and $7. What do you want to do? Fuck, that's entertaining. Why not do that, right? And it's great. So. My thing
Navy loves it because recruiting went up tremendously.
except
after
that Air
Top Gun.
Force recruiting went up higher, but that's another story. So the only thing that bugged me about this, when I saw the film was they obviously had to film some of it out to sea and they had to film some of it on land. And sometimes when they would do the aerial maneuvers, you'd sometimes see them when they were supposed to be out to sea and then suddenly see mountains in the background. But that was no big deal. So,
Right.
all right. Well, that is going to – well, you know what? You open the show. You close the show. Close it on a good note. We're done, so I'll let Keith close the show. Unless there's anything else you want to talk about.
All right.
But we need to get after it
Nope.
because we're running out of space this month. So go ahead.
Then quit talking. Okay.
All right.
Here we go. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. For
Yeah.
those of you that are going to listen later.
Yeah.
Coming up on Tuesday, we'll have a different bracket. Maybe we'll just cut it
We'll
down
have a
to
different
once week.
bracket. That's
We'll
on
just
me.
do
I
it.
got a good one this time.
Okay. All right.
And we're
That's
getting
Jason.
and thanks to everybody for suggestions on the bracket. Matt gave me a suggestion on a bracket, and one other person did. And I'm thinking about those, but I had another one in mind for this coming week. So, and by the way, Memorial Day, take a little time to visit a veteran at one of the grave sites. I'm not telling you what to do, but that's what Memorial Day is all about. And then do all the barbecuing and frolicking you want. Tell them where we can get the show, Keith.
All right. I don't know. We can get it. You can get it on iTunes. You can get it on Spotify. You can get it right here on Facebook.
Yeah.
Especially with the video.
Yeah.
Where else?
Spotify, Google Play. That's it. And NBC, CBS, Fox.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. That's it. We're
No,
done.
not
Thanks,
those.
everybody. Have a good night. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks, everybody who tuned in. I love you, Dad. Thanks, Matt. Hi, Darren. See you later. Bye.